don't be afraid to ask your potential coaches, what healing work are they actively engaged in, right? Like who's mentoring them? What containers do they have? What books have they read? What has their personal experience been? Because I feel like that ultimately is the question that is meant to hold us accountable, not a piece of paper, not a license, not, years, practicing, none of that. I want to know, like, did you actually do your work? Are you doing your work? Have you cleared enough of your shit that you're not going to bring your shit into my shit? Like that's what I want to know. And when I think back on the therapists that I've had, either as supervisors or personally, who were really amazing, and then the ones that were just straight up unethical to the point where like I cringe even to think about them continuing to be out there practicing in the world, it is the ones who actually took the time to do their own work and were showing up as somebody who is mostly healed, right? Because it's obviously a continuing journey, mostly healed, to be able to hold space for those clients and not have all that other unresolved, unhealed shit bleed into those sessions.
Yeah.
And it's not okay to continue this.
It's
practice.
A trauma cycle.
Like it really is, because
trauma cycle.
Gabby, I was actually just remembering that in graduate school, because I went for marriage and family therapy, right? I actually remember in one of my introductory classes, the professor said, oh yeah, and just so you know, by the way, out of all of the therapists, marriage and family therapists have the highest divorce rate. Marriage and family therapists have the highest divorce rate. And everyone was like, ha 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 ha. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, why are we laughing about this? Like, what is wrong that we are literally skilled in communication and the art of relationships and relating to one another, yet our own relationships are failing?
Yeah.
What? It's because like you don't have time to actually attend to your own relationship or do your own work because you're busy pouring it into everyone else. Oh, yeah. And if you're not okay, how can you be okay for anybody else?
The worst of my drinking problems started when I started my internship. I was never drinking at my internship. I would never be drunk working with, my God, that would never have happened. I would no. But at night, at the end of the night, I would go home and smash 2 bottles of wine because I was like holding so much space for people. And I had clients who were actively suicidal. I had clients who were dealing with trigger warning, sexual assault, rape, incest, or recovering from sexual abuse as a child. The stories that we hear as healers are really intense. And even as a coach, the stories we hear are really intense. And I think that there's this misconception that what we do is we sit and people just listen. Like we just listen and we hold space. And in sometime from the times when healers were worshipped and taken care of by their communities and given all the things that they needed so that they could do the deep, deep work of holding space and transformation and helping people get better, we lost that recognition of the value of that work and how fucking hard it is if you're doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
So that stuff that ended up happening at the end of the night where I was numbing myself was because I didn't have 3 hours the next day, or even 2 hours that night, 3 hours that night to sit, chant, do my grounding, maybe get a massage in the morning, maybe get an energy Reiki session, do my own stuff to release anything. Also, we were never taught how to do this. So it's like, what would even do? I didn't even know I didn't even know I had to do this stuff. Meanwhile, we're getting vicariously traumatized every single day over and over. And so how is that going to be sustainable for anybody? We deserve better. We deserve so much more. And so I think the art of holding space has to be recognized. We have to recognize it for ourselves. We do a lot of really, really, really hard emotional labor. And that's something to be proud of. And to also that should be raised up. That should be, I can't think of the word, but that should be appreciated. Yeah.
And that's why this conversation is so important, because ultimately it's beautiful to have this conversation. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this are going to be nodding their heads and agreeing with us, but nothing changes if nothing changes. Yeah. And this is exactly why I was this close to getting my license and I had to say no.
Thanks for watching, you guys. If you enjoyed this, click here to check out the full podcast episode. Click here to check out our full library of podcast episodes. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you can be the first to know when we're posting new ones. I'll see you soon.